How do founders come up with startup names? And what makes a great startup name? Well, in today's episode of the Brains Byte Back podcast, Jason Keck, CEO and co-founder of Broker Buddha, a startup using online smart forms to speed up insurance applications, joins us to share what he believes to be the 3 ingredients needed to create a fantastic startup name. Additionally, Jason, who previously held the role of Shazam's head of business development, shares his backstory and how he made the switch from working at Tumblr to co-founding Broker Buddha. And finally, Jason also talks about The Enlightened Agent, a podcast he hosts on behalf of Broker Buddha, where they are currently exploring diversity and inclusion in the insurance industry. Now, on with the show.
So my name is Jason Keck. I am the CEO and co-founder at Broker Buddha, which means I have my hands in just about everything we do here. And as a company, Broker Buddha is a vertical SaaS company in the insurance industry, and we help insurance agencies power their brand online by giving them a digital client engagement platform to streamline the application and renewal process for their clients. So if you've ever applied for insurance for your business, you've probably been through a pretty painful process of filling out PDFs and spreadsheets. And if you've ever had to renew your policies, you probably feel like it's worse than going to a doctor's office. And Broker Buddha gives insurance agencies the technology to make that simple and easy for their customers.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me today. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of work to really remove a real headache for most people. And I'd be curious to know, like, how did this start? Like, how did Broker Buddha begin?
It's a fun story, honestly. The company was founded in an incubator in New York called Interplay, and Interplay was incubating a online insurance agency called Founder Shield. And the background story there is that when Interplay was started, they were thinking about ideas for businesses, and they sort of remembered their experience applying for insurance as a startup and found it to be horrible and said, and there's got to be a way to do that better. And so Founder Shield was created to sell insurance to startups and build a business around that. The team behind Founder Shield quickly discovered that there weren't any really good tools for insurance agents to collect information from their clients. That's a key part of the application process, and helping somebody to get coverage is to get information from them about their business. And they just, discovered that all of the information was being passed back and forth through PDF files and sort of fairly archaic data capture tools. And so they, being fairly tech forward people themselves, decided to build crazy idea. They decided to put applications online, and they were able to grow quickly and profitably and successfully. And then, a couple of years into their journey, because they were part of an incubator, they, along with the people running the incubator, said, well, what if we take the same concept that's made you successful and bring it to all the other insurance agencies around the country? Doesn't that sound like a good business? And around that time, I got connected to them. I was in New York, working at Tumblr. It was kind of a dying brand, and there wasn't a lot of opportunity for innovation there. And so we came together. I decided to bring my background in kind of digital media, technology, and consulting and workflow, and combine it with what they were doing in insurance to create Broker Buddha. And so that's the founding story, and it's been quite a journey since. So
Awesome. Well, I have to say, I always love finding out how these companies begin. And one thing that I've noticed from speaking with so many founders, or just hearing their creation stories, is that it almost always comes from someone experiencing at some point some kind of problem, and then there's no solution that exists, and then they create the solution, and then I ended up speaking to them much further down the process on how it's all going. So it's fantastic to see that that's like a no different in this situation. It's great to see that you folks are solving a real problem.
I guess the piece I want to add to that is that although I was personally not that connected to insurance, it wasn't just wasn't something I'd really experienced. I hadn't felt the pain myself. As soon as I was able to understand the challenges of the workflow, the sort of geeky technical engineer in me just went crazy. I was like, wow, this is completely broken. And I tell people this all the time. Like people talk about PDFs being like digital applications. Like if you've ever tried to fill out a form on a PDF on your browser or in your computer, it is one of the most awkward ways of entering information, and it's just annoying. It's almost as bad as printing and filling it out manually and scanning it. So when I discovered how much PDF based applications were a part of the insurance process, and when I watched the ridiculous time that people wasted trying to fill them out, it really piqued my sort of geeky engineer's interest in like, okay, we got to find a better way to do this.
I can understand that. Yeah, I have to say there's nothing that annoys me more than inefficiency. I think there was a podcast I was listening to recently, and they were trying to play this newlyweds game, and one question was like, what annoys this person more than anything? And when I had to think about it myself, I was like, inefficiency. For me,
Yeah.
it's like when you see things and they're working so poorly and you know they can work better, that really gets me going. So I can relate to that in that sense.
I have an engineering degree, computer science, and feel the same way, right? Like you see problems. There's like the first thing that goes to your mind is like, you know, how you would do it differently or better. So, and startups are a great way to really scratch that itch and try to do something about it, and obviously build a business behind it.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Now I am really curious to know. I love this name, Broker Buddha. Like, how did you folks come up with that name?
So I wish I could take more credit for the name, but the incubator really developed the name itself. But I could tell you why. I could tell you how they went about it, and I could tell you why it works. And I've always had this view about naming for startup. It's a really big deal, right? If you're a startup, you're really trying to break into, crack into an established market or an established space, and so naming is super important. When you're picking a name for a startup, you want it to have three things. Number one, you want it to speak to who your audience is. So you want it to have some connection to who your customer base is. And obviously, Broker Buddha, the broker in that, clearly has that. The second is that you'd like it to speak to what it does, either functionally or the benefits of it. And this reference to Buddha and this concept of kind of enlightenment, simplicity, like making things better, I think speaks to what our product does, which is it helps make our customers' lives easier and simpler. And then the last, and this is crucial, is you want it to be, it needs to be memorable, right? And there's different ways of making something memorable. One of which is alliteration, which is obviously the BB, the Broker Buddha works really well. But another is to be a little provocative, right? And so the idea of referencing Buddha in a corporate environment, especially a kind of risk averse environment like insurance, is something that really gets a lot of people's attention. So I can't tell you how many people hear the name and tell us like, wow, I've heard of you guys before. I don't know what you do, but I'm really interested in learning more. And so the name and the name recognition has been a huge asset for the business. And obviously checks all those three boxes of being, speaking to our audience, speaking to what it does, and being memorable. So again, I wish I could take credit for actually doing it, but kudos to the team who did.
Yeah, I like it. And I also, well, personally, for me, my association with Buddha is usually like quite calming. So if I see something related to Buddha, then I'm naturally going to feel like it's like quite calming and soothing. And from the sounds of it, it kind of represents the work that you're doing in the sense that you are making things easier. I suppose reducing stress in that sense.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's exactly it. People do warm to the name. They warm to the business. We actually just did a brand study looking at how recognizable the name was against our competition, and the results showed that we were 50% more recognizable than the largest companies in our space. The brand is. So if that tells you anything about the power of a name, you should definitely think about that.
Well, nice work. Congrats on that. And I also want to know, like, do you have any examples or case studies of clients that have benefited from the work that you folks have done? And then would you be able to share any details of how the company has made a difference for them?
Yeah, I mean, almost everybody who uses the platform gets gets the value of the platform. And there's really, I would say, broken into two areas. The first is the digital client experience for these agencies historically didn't exist, right? So you have to imagine if you're a leading insurance agency and you pride yourself on customer service, and somebody comes and you were to approach that agency and say, hey, I want to work with you, and the agency says, yeah, we're we're big on customer service. By the way, can you fill out all these forms? Right. It's just kind of I don't know, it's kind of a slap in the face if you ask me. And so, the number one thing that clients appreciate about our platform is that it makes it easy to power that agency's brand online and create a much better experience for their clients. Some examples of that: 4 out of 5 clients who complete applications on the platform indicate that it was easier than using PDFs, and also indicate that they want to use the platform again the following year. So I think that's a huge sign of what we're doing better. I think obviously you're going to have your 20% who just like things the old fashioned way and they're not used to change. But the majority of people, love using the platform. The other data point we have is that we tend to save agents about an hour for every application that they set up on the platform. That comes from our ability to preload information, our ability to send out reminder emails, and our ability to quickly move information from one form to the next through a mapping technology that we have. And so what that means is that the more you use the platform, the more time you save, and the more that time can be used for either better servicing your clients, finding new clients, or developing your staff or team. So those 2 things, the client experience and efficiencies, are our top value add, and that's where we've seen some real measurable results with some of the leading agencies in the country.
Hopefully you're enjoying the show, and if you are, make sure you subscribe and never miss an episode. You can find us on all your usual podcast sites: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, and a whole lot more, including YouTube. And we want to hear what you think, so be sure to leave us a review. Just search Brains Byte Back wherever you get your podcasts. I'd also like to know, what's next? What are you folks focusing on for the horizon for Broker Buddha?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say, that insurance agents have tons of tools to do all the things that they want to do, but the reality is this is a pretty nascent environment, and there really are no other independent players in the space who are being as aggressive in growth plans as we are. And so, our focus is 100% around improving that digital client experience. And the only thing we started with is this concept of an application, or a submission is what they call it in the industry. And so there's a whole host of other tools, workflow and client engagement wise, that we can build on top of that. Everything from, being able to deliver that information digitally to an insurance company to get quotes, or the ability to turn a quote into a proposal, the ability to turn a accepted proposal into an invoice and a payment, the ability for a customer to manage their information online, not just at application time, but throughout the year. So let's say you're a big company and you're in the transportation sector, and you've got new vehicles or drivers being added to your business every year. You need a way to get those updated and update your agent to make sure that those vehicles and drivers are covered on your policy. And everything I just named still has to be done through either phone calls and emails today. And so all of that functionality, all that workflow can be digitized, can be put online. It simplifies the experience for the agent, it simplifies it for the customer, and ultimately streamlines the way they work together. And it allows the agents to focus more on advising their clients on what type of coverage they have and what type of carriers they should work with, and less time on the administrative minutia that generally slows everybody else down.
Awesome. Well, I wish you the best of luck with these ambitions, and obviously just simplifying the process for everyone involved. And those are really all the questions I have for Broker Buddha. I wanted to ask though on a separate note, am I correct in thinking that your LinkedIn cover photo is a picture of New Orleans?
That's right. It is. Good spot. So
that immediately jumped out at me. And personally, this is nothing really to do with the company or anything, but I'm really curious to know why you picked that. I know you're based in New York, and I asked because New Orleans personally for me is my favorite spot in the US.
Yeah, so I grew up in New Orleans. Was born in Dubai, moved to New Orleans at age 3, lived there for 15 years through high school, and it's a huge part of my identity, my personality, my culture, and I have a lot of fond memories of being there, of living there. We're actually taking the whole company back there for an offsite in about 2 weeks to show them, well, to get everybody together, because we're in this hybrid environment right now, and we like to pick fun places to get together. And so New Orleans is great. It's got great food, great weather, really friendly people. It's incredibly affordable. The music scene is just nothing like it exists anywhere in the world. I took it for granted for sure when I was there because I had no other perspective. But it's just it's a warm, fun, and fantastic place to spend time. So yeah, it feels like a big part of who I am, and I like to share who that is online wherever I can.
I completely understand why you would want to do that. I really do love New Orleans. My dad is actually he's half Venezuelan, half British, but born in the US, and he works for Southwest Airlines. So
Okay.
until I was 21, I got free flights, and I completely used that as much as I could to see as much as of the US as possible. And still to this day, New Orleans is without a doubt my favorite spot for all the reasons you just mentioned. And
Awesome.
I love the culture. I really love it. So I knew I had to ask when I saw that. And I really hope you folks have a great time. And if people do want to keep up with you folks there at Broker Builder, like how can they do that? Is there anywhere that you would recommend they follow, or how could they reach out to you if they wanted to work with you?
Yeah, a host of channels. So website brokerbuilder.com. LinkedIn is probably where we're most active on social. We have a fledgling Twitter account as well, but LinkedIn is probably the best place to find us. I also host a podcast called The Enlightened Agent. We're currently running a series on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the insurance industry, which needs a major overhaul, and there's a lot of mental energy going into that. So if you're interested in either the insurance industry or in diversity in corporate America, please subscribe to the podcast or send me an email. If you're looking for work, we're going to be hiring again soon, jason@brokerbuilder.com. And if you're in the insurance industry and you're looking for tools, by all means, hit us up. We'd love to see if we can help.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Sam. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Growing a company has many hurdles, from securing funding to expanding your business capabilities to ranking better on search. Each business challenge is uniquely complex. The solution to these challenges is growth-focused digital PR and marketing, and that is where our sponsor, Publicize, comes in. Publicize sets itself apart from traditional PR companies. It does not charge large retainers or churns out press releases whether you've got a newsworthy announcement or not. Publicize builds businesses' online presence and gets high-quality PR and media coverage for startups and entrepreneurs who are priced out of a broken PR industry. What's more, listeners of Brains Byte Back can find the tools and resources they need to overcome common hurdles that many startups face when trying to generate long-term growth by visiting publicize.co/BBB. That's publicize.co/BBB. This is the end of today's show. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this and you want to hear more episodes just like it, then follow and subscribe to Brains Byte Back wherever you get your podcasts. We're also available on YouTube under the channel of our publication, The Sociable. Just search Brains Byte Back and you'll find all of our episodes there. We really love hearing what you have to say, so leave us a review on iTunes or on any other podcasting platform to let us know what you think. You can also reach out on Twitter at The Sociable. And finally, go to sociable.co where you can find all our episodes and plenty of articles on topics just like this. Thanks again for joining us, and until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. Disclosure: this episode contained a client of an Espacio portfolio company.